if you have them done and you just haven't submitted them, get in and submit them. All right, let's go over the homework. Last night you were supposed to try 19 and 21. You were supposed to use synthetic division. So I'm gonna go ahead and get you started with that. Yeah.
I think we have to do 20, not 21.
I have 19 and 21. I think 21 are the two that I have that you told me.
Oh, she told us 20.
To start 19 and 21 like this. That's okay. That's fine. I mean, you gotta do them anyway, so
Yeah.
we'll still go over them. It's not a big deal. Not a problem at all. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. And she mentioned, if you caught it before you left, that it's synthetic. We're gonna do synthetic on this one. But we had a choice. We could have done long division, but she had recommended synthetic on these two. All right, so our divisor is x minus 2, right? And so we can take that, and we're gonna it's kind of like solving. We're gonna put it equal to 0, and we're gonna get a positive 2. We're just gonna use a positive 2 in there. And then we're gonna take, just like we would normally, we're gonna take our coefficients, so our numbers out front. We're gonna make sure that our x's are in descending order, and we're not missing any. So 3, 2, 1, none, and that they are. So we're good with that. So we're just gonna write those in: 4, -1, 3, and 2. Our line. Okay, and again, I'm a visual person, and I feel like the more I write it, the more I remember it. So I'm gonna remember that I'm multiplying by that number, and then at this row, I'm just adding, right? So I'm gonna bring that 4 down. And then we're gonna start our multiplying. So 2 times 4, I'm gonna go up, is 8. Then I'm just gonna keep my adding going. So we get a 7, right? -1 plus 8. Multiply again. And bring it up. So 2 times 7, 14. Gives me 17. Two times 17 is 28.
Yeah, no.
And I get.
Oh, it's, yeah.
Did I do something wrong?
Yeah, we need to equal 0.
No, not that. I didn't tell you it was a 0, but I do see one mistake, but I'm sure somebody else sees it. Yeah.
30.
Oh.
Yeah.
2 times 4 is 20.
Yeah, so 2 times 17 is 34.
Thank
Good
you.
catch, Gavin.
Someone saved me from my stuff.
We make mistakes a lot. We're just testing these.
30.
That's right. Yeah, good
This
job.
is what I
Good
made it feel
catch. All right. So we don't have a, it's not a 0. So I'm just gonna go back to Miss.
Yeah, it's
Miss
not
Brown.
a 0 because I didn't tell you it was a 0.
Right.
When would we expect it to be a 0? Well, yeah, if it specifically says there's a 0 at this, or if you looked at the graph and it crossed it 2. So if it crossed it 2, or I told you it was a 0, if I just say divide, there's no, like if I say 15 divided by 7, there's no guarantee that 7 is going to go into 15 evenly, right? So there's no guarantee that it's going to be a 0, so it's okay to get a remainder. The only time we expect a remainder of 0 is if they told us it was a 0 or the graph crossed at that number, which also.
So I'm gonna bring my x down less than 1, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have 4x to the second plus 7x plus 17, and then I just put my remainder on the
So
end.
you guys say, what do we do?
It's 36 over x minus 2.
Perfect.
And it's plus 36, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's messy.
Yeah, so this is why we're always happy when there's a remainder of 0, because you don't have to do that.
Like, why is it like 4 squared, not 4x cubed?
51.
So remember the rule, if it's x cubed, and you're dividing by x, you go down
Oh,
one
yeah,
power.
yeah.
Yeah, good question. So I say we try one long division. You guys should do this one on your own. I see one thing though, because I know we're not gonna be able to do every problem in here together. You're gonna have to do some on your own. What do you guys notice here? What's the problem on this one?
There's missing.
It skips powers, okay? So you could do the setup. What number goes in the box? Let's do the setup, but then leave the rest. The -3. What would the coefficients be, Carson?
120, -13.
You guys agree? Said 120 and -13. So what do you have to write?
Zeros.
Zeros. So say that again, Carson. We should write 1, then what number should we write?
1, 0, 20, 0, -13.
Okay, you guys agree?
We only have 1 0 there, or how many zeros?
Right.
2 zeros.
Yeah, because they both come before this one, and then the -13.
And again, I'm a visual person, and that's where I don't lose track of things. So once I hopefully catch that I've got some missing things, that's my little carrot, you know, like we skip a word in a sentence, we put our carrot in and put it up here. So I'm just like, carrot, there really should be a 0 x to the third and a 0 x to the second, and then there's my x to the 1. Okay, because then when I go down here, I'm like, oh yeah, 1, 0, 0.
And one other thing you can check is, since it was a degree 4, if that's a 4, you should have 5 numbers listed here, because you always have every power plus a constant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, hurry and finish that one. See if you can finish that one on your own. And we'll just compare. You get stumped.
So how do you get to this one? Yeah. So that's why through this arrow, this is like, parentheses. And I want to hold this out, which is the so that's why. Then these have to be in order. I go 4 to 1, right?
So it's not.
Yeah. So now we have to do each other's. Yeah, I get those x to 1. Up here we had that. 3, 2, 1. So that's how we get, and then we just take, now we're taking the one that's out front here. 0. Now we're at 20.
Now I make it. Okay. Thank you.
Right, you trying that, did you use the top one to help you kind of get to the bottom one? If you did it, do
One long
my
division?
numbers match?
Yeah.
Because we found out I make mistakes, so. You can tell me, we can look.
The final 7 should be an 8.
See?
Good catch, is that Lyndon?
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
No, I'll be resilient. Yeah.
Aren't you supposed to do like so 9 times the -3? Get that number divided by
Oh, to finish up.
plus or minus.
I think you're good. What's your question, Maddie?
Oh, I did the math wrong.
Okay,
I'm like
so-
getting 200 and 603.
So somebody else agree with these numbers? Yes.
People who
Okay,
have
I saw
not,
a
thank
couple
you,
yeses.
thank you.
Okay.
All right, so then we're gonna reduce our x value by 1. So we started with our degree of 4, so we're gonna start with x to the third. Sometimes I like to write it x to the second, x then blank. So this is gonna just drop in 1, -3, +9, -7, and then of course this is our remainder. We're just gonna add that 8 over our divisor x plus 3. Little divisor, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The bottom thing.
And then I say for time 21 and 22 are 2 long division questions. If you have a long division question on your test, it's going to be pretty simple. So let's just do 20, because we have 20 and 22 is like extra practice. If you want extra practice, great, but you don't have to do 22. So let's go through 20 and make sure we've at least got 1 long division question on your review to remember you can refer to your review during your test. So we'll just have 1 of these in here.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be like, synthetic or long division, or is it, are you gonna have this be like long division and then like synthetic, or can we choose?
You can choose. So
Okay.
here's a good question. I mean, maybe I'll tell you which one, but how come on like 19 you could do synthetic, but on 20 you can't do synthetic? Like I hands down, I would
Oh.
choose synthetic every single time.
2, because of the 2x.
Exactly. So you can only do synthetic if it's x plus or minus a number.
Oh,
So I do synthetic if possible, and then if I can't, then I unfortunately.
How about 22 though? Because it's x squared, not.
Good. So why do you think this one cannot be done using synthetic? Because it has a power. So it's only if it's x plus or minus a number. at the
So would
bottom.
you do long division for 22?
Yep.
Thank you.
But I think if we see 1 long division question in your notes, you'll be good for your test. So let's just do 20. The more you have finished, the more you get to use on your test. So we'll go with that. The more you have done, the better you are off.
So, again, it's one of those things where at least 1 from every section, 1 or 2 would be a good goal, because then you've like tried everything and seen if you like are getting it, right? And you have examples then on your paper. Right, so I checked my exponents, they're all in order, so I don't need a placeholder. So then I can just bring them down. So 6x to the third minus 5x to the second plus 2x minus 4. Right? And I'm trying to get this number out front to equal this term here so I can cancel it out. So what are we going to multiply 2x by to get to 6x to the third? 3x squared. Yeah, I need 2 more x's to get me to x to the third. I get 6x to the third.
Would you distribute that 3x?
Yeah, here. Yep, I'm going to multiply by everything. So good job. So I get a positive 3x to the second. Then I'm going to change everything to their opposite at this level. Right, so all of those turn to their opposite. These 6's cancel out. And then I have a -5 and a -3. And I get a -8x. Oh, no way.
It's a positive.
Oh, x to the second, sorry. Again. Okay. So we're adding, so I was just having a brain fart, right? We're adding or subtracting, the x's are just gonna stay the same. So plus 2x and then minus 4.
Isn't that a positive 3?
We change the sign at that level. If we're subtracting, so we change it to its opposite. Okay. All right. Now I need to change that 2x out front to a -8x to the second. So I need a negative for sure. A 4. I need 1 more x to get it to match.
-4.
So why is it going to be negative? But that's good to call me on it. Yeah, because eventually I wanted to match this number when I multiply. And I know when I get to this level, I'm going to change everything to its opposite. Okay. I know a lot of moving parts and things to remember. Always so much me, I'm like, ugh. Okay. So I'm going to match it to start. Okay, I'm going to -4 times 1, -4x. And then here's why we want it to match, because at this level, this is when we change everything to its opposite. So that becomes a +8, that becomes a +4. And you know, everybody, we hate long division, but really when we used to do long division in our grade school years, right, at this level, we usually subtract. And at this level, we say when we subtract, we change everything to its opposite. Okay, those are gone. Whoops, literally. Okay, those are gone. I add these, I get 6x minus 4. I need to match that 6x, so I'm going to use a positive, and I don't need any more x's, so it's just going to be a positive 3. So 3x, 3 times 1 is 3. Oops, sorry. 6x. Oh, man, I hope I make it through the day. Wednesday, it's this bad. Usually it's Friday, I'm this bad.
I mean, now we don't have Friday.
All right,
so-
change everything to its opposite. I know.
Yeah, thankfully.
And then we get a negative 7. Does that look right?
Perfect.
Is that there? Okay, and then we have a remainder, right? So we're going to take that negative 7, or we keep going down here. So we have 3x to the second minus 4x plus 3. And then would I just do minus 7?
Yeah, I usually always just say, yeah, you
Just
can do
plus
that.
and negative like that.
Either way.
Which way do you normally?
I usually do plus and then put the number on top. So plus
Plus
and then
and then
remainder.
negative 7 over 2x. plus 1.
And it's equivalent.
Oh, so you have.
I'm wondering where you got like that 6x plus 3.
Yeah.
It's like just from like 3 times 2.
Yeah, yep. So at the top, we're just always, distributing to whatever's out front here.
You do the first and second numbers.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good question. And again, if that's something that you were like, you don't have solid in your head, because you can use your notes, I would draw those arrows in. Like if that's something that's not happened naturally yet, or maybe it's like you're like me right now, you're having some brain farts, like on another day, you'd be totally fine with this, but for some reason it's not coming to you. Draw in those arrows. So when you look at your notes on the test, you're like, okay, both, I have to multiply to both.
So again, we're going to skip 22. I'll post it on the keys. So if you want to do 22, 22 will be optional. But if you feel good, I think if you have one good long division question written down, you're going to be okay. So let's look at 23, 24, and 25.
And again, the directions might give you a clue to what you're doing, right? Don't just look and like freak yourself out on the test. Look at like what you're being asked to find. So it says solve the quadratic, factor, use square roots, or the quadratic formula. Okay. So we got 3 choices. That didn't really help us as much because now we gotta make some decisions when we get here. So if we look at 23, I can use factoring. Does that look like something I normally factor? No. Square root. Can I free stuff up that square thing with the square root? And that 9 looks pretty happy, like being square, like if I square root it because it's a positive. Yeah, it's positive. Okay, so we're gonna square root this. We want to get x by itself because we're like solving the quadratic. So I literally can come up here and square root this, and whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. I'm gonna put my plus and minus in there because once I add a square root, right, I'm adding or subtracting. A square root undoes a squared number. So I'm just showing that the square root cancels out the square. So I've really kind of freed that expression or that chunk from the radical. Well, what's the square root of 9? 3. Yeah, 9's made up of 2 3's. But it's a plus or minus 3. That's important.
So when you square root, it's rid of the 2.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Okay. So I have to do this twice. I have x minus 2 equals 3 and x minus 2 equals a negative 3. And remember, Ms. Brown mentioned that it's good to write it twice because you're less likely to make mistakes. Because sometimes we want to change the sign of the 2. We don't. We don't want to change the sign of 2. It's the 3, okay, that is going to be repeated. One positive, one negative. So then I'm adding 2 to both sides. X equals 5, adding 2 over here, right? X equals negative 1. Okay. Is that good? Just having that, we just want
Yeah,
to intercept.
that's perfect,
so we don't have to do- All right. Now I can use factors, square roots, or quadratic. So what am I going to check here? I probably, like we looked at this one, it had something squared right there, or like square root. So maybe square roots out for this one.
How many zeros it has?
Okay.
I didn't hear that. I heard somebody say something good. What did you say, Keaton?
How many zeros it has?
Good. It's always a good thing to kind of know that. How many zeros is this one going to have?
2, right?
So the power kind of tells us how many answers we're expecting. So yeah, you are expecting 2 answers.
Okay, so I heard someone say factor, so we did kind of double check. That seems like, because we always like the quadratic formula is kind of messy, so we're trying to avoid that. So if we can factor this, then that would be great. So again, I do the factoring with the diamond method. You can do guess and check. So I'm going to multiply those 2 things together. So 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. If my brain's working right, and then negative 2 on the bottom. So I'm looking for the 2 factors that multiply to get 24 and add or subtract to get negative 2. All right, I've got 24, the factors of 24, 1 and 24, that's never gonna get anywhere close to adding or subtracting the 2, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, they add to 11, they subtract to 5, 4 and 6, they add to, they could add or subtract to 2, so I could try that. So I've got 4 and 6, so some good possibilities.
Yeah, there's more.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so then I have to decide which one's negative. Well, the 6, to get to a negative answer, the sign of my bottom number is the sign of my biggest factor. So that 6 is going to be negative. All right. Now, because I multiplied the 3 in, I have to take the 3 out. So this 3 out front here, I multiplied it in, so I'm going to take it out. So I'm going to put 3x over both of these. And I'm going to see if either of these simplify or reduce. Okay. This first one can't be reduced. We've got 3x over 4. So these literally just tip into our parentheses. We have 3x and a positive 4. Right? That fraction can't be reduced anymore. So there we go. I know that the factor of 8 is going to be 4 that I'm going to use, and then the factor of 3 is going to be matched up with that. I can reduce this fraction over here. Both of these, the top and the bottom number, can be divided by 3. I have to do the same number on both. So I get 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I have 1x. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. I'm going to keep that negative with the bottom number. That just tips into the parentheses. So I have x, or 1x minus 2. And truthfully, once I get here and I see these can't be reduced, right? I know that the other factor of 3 is a 1, so I don't even have to look here. Okay, and I know the other factor that makes this 8 is going to have to be a negative 2, so I can kind of double check and make sure that it works. Okay. We want to take it all the way down?
Oh yeah, that's right, because I guess we're not done, because the instructions were solved. So as Keaton said at the beginning, we're looking for 2 zeros. So we still have to find like what x equals.
You know, and here, like, what I'm being asked to find out, it's multiple choice, so that probably will help you, like, know what your answer should look like potentially. But here's in my notes, because, like, I don't have all this stuck in my head, and I keep asking Ms. Brown. Okay, I know that I don't have it solid, so when I see solve, I'm going to put a little reminder that I have to actually get it down to this point. I'm not going to leave it in parentheses. Okay, so when I see solve, I'm going to put that in there, so when I use my review on the test, I know what I'm being asked to find. So we have to go one step further. We have to put these all equal to 0. So my first one, I'm gonna subtract 4 from both sides. Some of you know the trick for this, you don't have to do all this work. Okay, I'm gonna divide by 3 to get x by itself. So my first 0 is -4/3, right? We change the number, the second number to its opposite, and we put it over the first number. That's sort of the trick if you're figuring out the shortcut. The second one I can just pull out of the parentheses and turn to its opposite, or I could do my work. X equals a positive 2.
So on these examples, the first one was a square root, this one was factoring. I guess is on 25. Yeah. So this would be one that like you probably definitely need to have notes organized for, right? Quadratic formula, you will have to do a quadratic formula question on your test. So I would make sure that you have the quadratic formula written somewhere where you can refer to it or have this question written out nicely.
So, Miss Brown's like, have your quadratic formula somewhere. Well, I don't want to dig through all my notes. I could make a note card if we're letting you use notes. Certainly, if you made a 5 by like a little note card with your formulas on it, you could have that. If I think I might just use my review, my go-to, I might just write it up here. So let's see. -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4, I can't say, 4ac, so you're out of luck, all over 2a. And a good test strategy, if you weren't allowed to use notes, what I used to do, I didn't really do it in high school, but in college I kind of figured out, like do a brain dump right at the beginning of the test. Like if I had to memorize this for a test and I had it memorized, before I ever started the test, I would write it at the top of the test. Well, my brain's fresh. I'd be like, I know I need this formula and this formula. I'd write it on the top of my test. So then when I went back through, I was ready to, I had it right there ready to use while my brain was still fresh. Okay, so we know we're going to use a quadratic formula. I'm, again, a visual person. I like to label stuff, so my eye goes right to it when I have to plug it in somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and label my A, B, and C so I can just see it and then plug it in. So we need the opposite of B. So it was a -5. So the opposite of a -5 is a +5. Plus or minus. Now, these parentheses are really important. You have to put that -5 in parentheses because it'll be a completely different answer if you don't. And that 2, the exponent of 2 has to be on the outside.
In the front? Yep. So the formula, I always read it as opposite of B. Yeah, the one in front is always the opposite. Yeah.
So again, in our higher math, anytime we see a subtract or a minus sign or negative sign, it's like change to opposite. And again, if you didn't remember that, that's a good reminder. I'd write that in my notes. There's nothing wrong with not remembering, but help yourself out for the future. Okay, so 4 times A. A is 2. C is 1. All over 2A. 2 times 2. And again, you could just put 4 at the bottom. I think it's better to show your work. That way, if you do make a mistake, you can usually find it. You could be like, how did I mess it up? Oh, I put the wrong number at the bottom or whatever. Okay, now what's our next step? Yeah, we multiply whatever's under the square root. We don't use the square root. We just use the number part. So grab your calculator, put it in, try it out, make sure you put it in correctly. This is like a check step for us. Go over here and give it a shot. So parentheses, actually I could just do it on the board. I'll just put my calculator up. So parentheses, -5 squared minus One mistake some students will make, when, especially when we're working fast, is we'll use the negative sign as a subtract. Make sure that you're using the gray subtract sign in the middle, times 1. Okay. Double check, I put it in right, hit enter. We all get 17? Okay, good. So we've got 5 plus or minus the square root of 17 all over 4.
And remember, the nice thing is, terrible as quadratic formula is, as long as you accept the fact that your answer is going to be ugly, it doesn't matter. If we don't have to simplify, that's it. We're done. So you don't have to go in.
And technically, we have our degree is 2. We have 2 zeros because we have that plus or minus in there. Okay, so we have a positive for 1 0 and a negative 17. Screw 17.
Okay, I'm thinking let's do the graphing ones at the beginning, like just the first couple minutes of class tomorrow, because I want to make sure we do those like 4-parter ones. Now, the reason that I would say this, what can you do on your test if I asked you to graph this? Calculator, right? So really, I'll just kind of remind you at the beginning of class tomorrow how we can do those on our calculator. So I think the ones that are the most painful are back on 15. So if you go back, it was questions 15, 16, 17, 18. These are the ones that take forever, okay? But they're not really that. Now that we've done all of the pieces, this is really just putting everything that you've just done and all of those other separate pieces, we're putting it together. Okay. How many total zeros are there on 15? You guys agree? I heard 2. 3? Who said 3? Why 3, Leah? Exactly. Everybody all right with that?
So where it says 0, 2, what that really means is we have x equals 2.
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to kind of write that, that might be a good way to sort of, again, on your test, remember, that's just telling me one of my zeros. It's telling me that one of my zeros are x equals 2. Okay.
Then also just if you were to graph this on a calculator, what's happening at x equals 2 if you were to look at the graph?
Wouldn't it be x minus 2?
Something would be, that would be the factor. The factor is x minus 2, but it's x equals 2. So the 0 is what x actually equals.
Thank you.
What do you guys know, so without the graph? Yeah.
There's actually 20 too.
Okay, so goes through it too. Okay, so maybe if it doesn't tell you explicitly the 0 is 2, it might sketch a graph where, I don't know, it's a cubic that crosses at 2. So the graph is crossing. So we know it's crossing at 2 if they tell us it's 0. Just a reminder that is also what that means.
Okay, it says find the remaining zeros. What are we going to use to find the remaining zeros? Now that we know one of the zeros.
The other x's square.
How am I going to find some other zeros if I know one of them?
Oh, I heard it. What do we call that?
Standard form.
Synthetic division. Very good. Yep.
Okay, so here, I mean, I guess you'll be able to look at it, but it says find the remaining zeros. If it looks like this, it's synthetic division, right? We're going to take, we don't have to change the sign. That's really important. We know it's a 0. We're not pulling out of parentheses. We're going to use that 2 from up top. All right, or I can put it in there and show like it went over there. Okay, and then I'm going to take all my coefficients. I'm going to make sure it's all in descending order. 3, 2, 1, none, check. So I can go 1 with my coefficient, 2. I don't need any 0 placeholders. Right. Now, because I know that's a 0, we shouldn't get a remainder. That's what I should be thinking in my head. Oh, that's good. This ground would be happy. I'll be happy too. Okay. And we start. Bring down our 1. Timesing and adding. So 2 times 1 is 2. Get 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Wait, which one? We add these.
No, I'm saying the 4 gives you 2.
Oh, down here. Yeah, sorry. And what kind of 2 is it gonna be?
A negative.
Yeah, and then a negative 2 times a positive is a negative 4. Yay, check. Okay, now we're gonna reduce our degree by 1. So it was a 3, so we've got x to the second, x, and then our blank, our constant number. So 1 plus 4 minus 2. Am I done?
No.
No, those aren't zeros. Close though. Okay, so here I just need my other zeros. So what's that?
X minus 2.
True, you can put that in front, so if you wanna write it in what we call factor form, like this 2 in front,
Because you could have a question on factor form,
Oh.
the 2 in front, we do have a factor of x minus 2. So you have a factor of x minus 2, and then you have this factor. Yeah, Ellie.
Yes, and we know it because they asked us to find the zeros. So, yeah, good question.
And they gave us a 0, so we know we should get to a. All right, are we done? Did we find all our zeros?
No.
No, heck no. Okay, can I take the factors of 2 and multiply it somehow to get 4? If I just look at that and I'm like, can I factor this? All right, because if I'm doing the diamonds, I'd be like 1 times negative 2 is negative 2, but I have to add to a positive 4. Is that negative 2? Are the factors 1 and 2 ever going to get to 4? No. So can I really do guess and check, or can I do the diamond method? No, sadly. What do I have to do if I can't use those?
It's a quadratic, right? It's a degree 2. So this is like the examples we just barely did. Your only 3 options to solve a quadratic are square roots, factoring, or quadratic.
Yeah. So am I going to square root it? No. I already checked. I can't factor it. Yeah, I know.
I know. But it's not terrible, your
dang
answer's
it.
gonna look ugly,
Why do we even learn this?
because you can't factor everyone.
I'm not gonna use this,
We
like,
talked about
I
this.
know.
I don't
Go
think
to the
you're.
grocery store.
I don't think you were here,
You
but that
won't
was.
use this, but one thing that you will use for sure in the future is formulas. So really the skill that's gonna be helpful in future classes is if you're given some random formula, so like in a science class, you could be given something really random, and at least you're comfortable about it.
Can we just like carry like a note card in our pocket? at all
You won't
times?
need a note card. I mean, in reality, you pretty much have one, right? It's your cell phone.
I guarantee.
So, that's why we don't care if you use your phone or you use a note card, because it's just can you apply it? So really, that's the skill that you're taking. It's not because you're gonna be asked to take the quadratic formula.
Our kids aren't even happy.
Okay. All right, there we go. Ready, set, go. Beat me. Here we go.
It's
Opposite
good.
of B. What's your minus?
One.
B is 4. Oh, you did your already. B. Well, I kept doing it in my head. Sorry. You're right. Okay, square root of 24. Plus or minus.
I got 8. What did I get wrong?
I think your signs, because that's what I kept getting. That was my sign.
I didn't.
Okay. And again, try to do it on your own. Don't look at mine until after you've written it. And then also you can see if I messed up.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Okay. But you do have to really watch that there's a negative 2 in the parentheses. So that's probably where you're going to make a mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now you do it with quadratic formula. We've upped your game, Maddie. No longer is y equals mx plus b sufficient. All your world problems, grocery shopping, can be solved with quadratic formula.
Especially getting those Doritos.
Oh, yeah.
Fx plus b, that's
The ranch Doritos.
Yeah,
Just help you get ranch
Find the
Doritos.
perimeter in the quadratic formula before you purchase.
if anything, if you never use like formulas, even it's all the critical thinking. It's like doing the steps in the right order. That is like that problem solving piece is huge, regardless if it's numbers or reading directions and figuring stuff out. All right, did everybody else get this? Yeah. Now that Maddie made sure I got the right number under my radical. Okay, so we do actually have three zeros, right? Because that's plus or minus. If I really wanted to write them out, it'd be like -4, positive square root of 24 over 2. And then I have -4, negative square root of 24 over 2. All right, we've got our 3.
Okay, go ahead and just make sure you have a plus sign in front of that square root.
That's a big plus. Oh,
And then
Plus or minus.
yeah.
You wrote it out
Put the
twice.
plus in there. Because it's kind of attached with addition. It's not multiplying by it.
So as I look at the 3 that are left, I'll tell you 18 is extra. I'm not gonna give you one as hard as 18. So you can put 18, you can write like extra credit or extra practice. I don't wanna say extra credit. I'm not gonna give you extra
Or
credit.
you could cross it out.
Yeah, you're welcome to cross out. 18 isn't necessary. Okay?
Extra credit, you said?
Yes. Extra practice.
I think it's extra practice. I don't think you're gonna get extra.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna
I was
look
gonna
at it.
say
I will
round
post
side, we're
it.
not going to.
I'll
like
post it on the key, so if you wanna try it on your own, I'll have the correct answer posted, so that those of you who wanna try it.
But we're just gonna get points for we did.
Exactly. So you're just gonna get points as long as you've done your column.
it.
So look at 16 and 17. Yeah, Sean.
With the answer right with number 15, like with the radical,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't factor it, would it be like in the test? Would it be like factored all the way? Or would
I'm
it
gonna
be-
leave it. So Sean has a good question. He's asking like why I'm not doing a factor tree with the 24. Just because I don't want to. But you're right, you could. On the test, I'll make sure that the answers are not simplified. So like you could do 6 and 4, and then 4 is 2 and 2, and factor out a 2 and reduce it. But it's just not necessary. It's the same answer. So on the test, I'll make sure it's written in this form.
If you can get to this point, we're happy.
Yeah, if you get to here. Because again, if you get to here, it's just arithmetic. It's painful. I think arithmetic is the worst, so we skip that part. So 16 and 17. 16 is almost exactly like 15. So 16 is the one I want you to do on your own. But first, what's one thing you notice about 16?
Looks harder.
It's actually not any harder.
There's missing zero.
There's a missing 0. So just set up the synthetic division, and then we're going to skip the rest of this, and you guys will finish it on your own and check the key on camera. Okay, so just set it up. So when we set it up, Giovanni, what number goes in the box to set up synthetic division on 16? -3, good. What are the coefficients that you're gonna list from the polynomial? Good, just 0, very good. Okay, so then just kind of come back to this one after we do, I think 17 would be worth our time making sure we get through that one together, and then you guys can come back and do this.
So
What
we're
is-
doing 16 on our own?
Yep, you'll finish 16. I'll tell you some good news. When you get to it, when you get the quadratic, you're not gonna have to use quadratic formula. It's gonna be factorable. So it's gonna be easier than the last one.
Can you please go back to the last one? I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Thank you.
Why do you think I wanna talk about 17? What's different about 17?
It looks more important.
There's four zeros.
Multiplicity of 2, and there's 4 zeros.
Yeah.
Okay, what does multiplicity of 2 mean?
2 more answers.
There will be 2 more. 2 answers are the same, exactly. So if it has multiplicity of 2, that means you actually have 1 as a 0 twice. So that means we're going to be able to do synthetic division 2 times with the 1. So the first step is still the same, right? We still put a number in the box. So Zoe, what number do you think we're going to put in the box to start synthetic division on 17? So it gets confusing. The multiplicity 2 is just telling us that it occurs twice. It's the number that's listed first, so it's like the 1. So the 1's gonna go in the box. Does it skip any powers? Yeah, no. Exactly. Yep.
Her question said, she said if it says multiplicity of 2, that means you do synthetic division twice. Yes.
Yeah, and notice I wrote that, right? Because I'm not gonna remember that on the test. I already know myself, right? So I'm pointing to it, I'm saying can do synthetic division 2 times with the 1, the 0, which is 1, okay?
What are the coefficients, guys? What are we gonna list?
3, 2, 5, 2, 9, 21, and
Negative.
negative.
Try synthetic division and then look up. So before you look up, try synthetic division on your own with the 1 in the box. We expect to get a 0 as your remainder. If you don't, then raise your hand and I can take a look at your paper. Let's see if you can get this one. Do the synthetic division all by yourself.
You have to do it twice?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Does it not work?
Uh-oh.
What did I did the same thing.
Did I get it?
Zero.
I got
Wait,
it
these
for-
two are the.
Guys,
these
for
are
the
ones
first
that get
time.
loudest.
No, I got it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, thank
yeah.
you. Oh, wait,
I have the same word.
hang on, wait.
Yeah, maybe 21
I know.
minus 11.
It works.
Oh, that's funny. I did the exact same mistake. I'm looking at my paper going, oh,
I'm so glad I don't have to take this.
yay. But the one good thing is, I was like, I know something went wrong because it wasn't a remainder of 0. So if you're taking the test, you'll be
Wait.
like, oh goodness, where's the mistake?
It's not a remainder of 0.
It is.
It is.
Oh.
Yeah, we're saying that, like, the mistake we made, like, we got here, and we were both like, what?
I was like,
This
oh
is
crap,
not
I
a
wrote a bad
0.
problem.
And so then really, yeah, then we had to go back and say, where did I do my math wrong? Okay, well, I did it with 21 minus 11. I was so close. Okay. But you know, that really is a good point. Like, Ms. Brown and I are working really quickly, and that's what happens when you go too quick, right? Is those little things. But we had that check where it wasn't 0, so we're like, oh wait, that's a problem. Okay. All right, now we know that we can use that 1 twice because we have the multiplicity of 1. So I'm going to start that process all over again, right?
Just
And I'm just going to use those numbers. You can actually move your 1 right up next to it. It's a little bit visually, I think,
Yeah, I
kind of
always
like
just
ugly, but
go
just put it
right,
up there.
keep going.
3, 2.
Right, let's see if I can go without a mistake.
Yeah, I got 0 here.
Woohoo!
Right? You know, you are cheering to yourself silently in your head when you get that 0. Right? I know, like, you may not admit it to everybody else, but I know, especially tomorrow on the test when it works out.
You're gonna be cheering. You're gonna
Yeah.
get cheers from your seat. Okay, so I started with the degree of 4. What degree am I down to now?
3. 2.
2. At this level, I'm at a degree of 3. At this level, I'm at a degree. I've come down to a degree of 2. Right down here. Okay, so each level, I'm like subtracting off a degree.
Can we just keep going down?
But I know that by 2, like if you were doing, this would be x minus 1. I can just square it, right? So it would be squared, right? And now I have 3x to the second plus 1x minus 10. And then are we done?
No.
Dang it.
But there's good news. I heard Maddie cheer, and I think I know why you cheered.
Because it's a plus or minus, so you only have to do it once, so you don't have to like do
Kind of.
You factor it.
Factor it. So this is 2 answers we already know. We're expecting 2 more, and so notice she's starting that diamond method. Factorable, which means you do not have to do quadratic formula. You could do quadratic formula. Did you do it? So your answer will be the same. Let me show you. I wouldn't have this.
3,
What's the word?
4, 5, and 6. Ooh, we got a winner.
Could you just keep going down though?
You could, but you want to check it every time. Oh, you mean like doing the synthetic?
Yeah.
No, because we don't know any of the actual zeros. I mean, we could try, we could do that PQ thing, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what she does. Okay, so we know we have 5 and 6 are gonna work. The sign of the bottom number is the sign of the biggest factor, so that's positive, and that's negative. And I'm gonna double check, it does multiply to be a negative 30, so we're in good shape. I put a 3 in, so I have to take a 3 out. How I got that was, I multiplied this, times this. So I have to take the 3x, hey, did you take the 3x out?
Oh, no.
No. Okay, so now I have x minus 1 squared. I have 3x minus 5. And then I can reduce the 3x over 6. Right, I can take the, divide each of those by 3. And I get x over positive 2. And I just dump those into my parentheses. X.
No, I'm,
See, but now you're thrilled. Are we done?
yes.
No.
Natalie?
Oh.
Good question. Natalie has a good question. Who can answer? Why is this squared? Good, because there's 2.
So that multiplicity.
Yeah, and we divided it out twice. So it counts as 2 of our 4 zeros.
Wait, so if it says multiplicity of 2, do we have to do synthetic division twice?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why, so you want to definitely make that note.
Oh.
Yep.
We need to use the bulk method.
If you were asked to multiply, but we're not, what were we asked to do? Find all the remaining zeros.
Did we find them?
How many total zeros will this problem have? You guys agree?
4.
4. It's the degree, right? We already have 2 of them. Well, this will give us 1, and this will give us 1. So set each of those 2 factors equal to 0. Those will give you your other 2 zeros.
I know that the x plus 2 is really, I'm just gonna put out, turn it to its opposite. So that one's taken care of. Those are my zeros. And then I'm gonna do 3x minus 5 if I'm not good at trying to do it in my head. Plus 5. Then I still want to get that x by itself, so I'm going to divide by 3. So my last 0 is 5 over 3. Talking to my watch.
All right. So I'm super impressed with how much you guys know. I think if you can make it through this question, that really is it. So I think we have, what, like 4 minutes? My suggestion before you go, finish 16. Okay? Like I said, I'll work 18 on the key, so if you want to see it, you can, but it is optional.
And again, they're saying find all the zeros. So what I would do is I would look at the highest degree and I would write x equals, x equals, x equals. So remember, that's my last step. My final answer has to be 3 zeros of x equals. So in that box, I would go x equals, x equals, x equals. Can I go down yet? So my final answer has to have a bunch of little x's at the bottom. I know one of my x equals, or one of my zeros already is -3. So that's at the top. Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what the is.
And again, try not to look at the board. Really, you should be really trying to like, the only way you're gonna get it stuck in your head is like stepping back, looking at it, thinking about it, and doing the next step.
So I'm gonna give you just a couple of suggestions tonight. Okay,
Did
so
I get
tonight,
it?
what I would recommend doing is look at this review, like pull it up on Canvas, and even though you probably have everything done, everything should be done except for that last page of graphing, and we'll talk about that at the beginning of class. Pick a question and redo it on your own. So take out a separate piece of paper, redo the same question. Okay, so just try practicing some questions tonight on your own, even if you have this all done. The other thing I would do is organize your stuff. So make sure your stuff is organized so that during the test you know where to find it.
Okay, for 26 through 31, you'd be reviewing 2.1, right? 2.1 and 2.1A. So you should really, don't wait till tomorrow when we review it, try a couple and then we'll review it.
Yeah, that's good, because we're only gonna spend 5 minutes at the beginning of class, because you're gonna do the whole class.
Yeah, 5 minutes isn't gonna be enough to get it
Just
all
like,
back.
really quick, and I'll just remind you.
Like, with classroom.
That's
Yeah.
all you do is just.
Strong. You change this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's do that right now, so I don't forget.
So,
Sorry, I'm just paranoid about it because.
No, it's good that you remind me because I will forget. Let me stop this. Lyndon and Ridge, thanks for coming. Let us know if you have a question.
Okay, thank you.
See ya.
Garrett.